Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Kotak, to begin the day's proceedings.
Good morning all the dignitaries who have gathered here. I don't know how many of you are familiar with cricket. In India, cricket is sort of a national religion. And one of the most difficult things to happen in cricket is if you are an opening batsman. Because when you open the match, it's not a very easy place to be in. But also, where we are today, at the SAGAR Discourse, which is the security and growth for all in the region, and it's the first meeting of SAGAR, with so many dignitaries who have gathered here, it makes my task even a little bit more difficult that I have to open the proceedings. But let me try my best. As we all know, for the last 2000 years, and probably even a little bit earlier, the region of India, the Indian Ocean, the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, has been a vibrant meeting point of people from all over the world. And therefore, it is perfect that the first meeting is being held in Goa. Today, in today's time and age, people from our business, which is shipping, maritime, ports, we talk about globalization. We talk about transshipment terminals. 500 years back, Goa, this same very Goa, was an important port and a part of the supply chain of the entire continent of India. It might interest you to know that the Deccan empires, which was 400, 500, 800 kilometers from Goa, used to receive their Arabian steeds and various other types of equipment through Goa to move to Hyderabad, Bengaluru, and Pune. That was how 500 years back, even then, Goa was a transshipment hub, what we shipping people would like to call it. And that was 500 years back. Frankly, I don't know what terminology they would have used, but that is what it was. It is wonderful to see that Norway is a part of this gathering. Like India, Norway also has a proud maritime history. It is a matter of record that the type of ship designs that Norway, even 1800 years back, had was leaders in the world. And therefore for India, it is wonderful to have that partnership with Norway, because India would look forward to sharing and growing in various spheres where Norway is truly a world leader. Before I go ahead, I would like you all to indulge me for a couple of minutes. I'd like to share with you some fanboy moments. I'm sure all of you have fanboy moments. Let me share with you my fanboy moment.
रोड में जाने के लिए 1.5 रुपए खर्चा होता है, रेलवे में 1 रुपया है, तो पानी पे जाने के लिए 20 पैसे खर्चा। अभी मारुति की गाड़ी हमने वाराणसी से बाढ़ में डालकर नॉर्थ ईस्ट और बंगाल में भेजी, तो एक गाड़ी की कीमत 3000 रुपए कम होती। तो निश्चित रूप से लॉजिस्टिक कॉस्ट को कम करना देश की इकोनॉमी के लिए बहुत आवश्यक है।
This is our minister, and we are indeed proud that he pushes us, all of us stakeholders, into achieving the ideal, into achieving the excellence. And let me share with you another fanboy moment.
70 वर्ष के दौरान अनेक दलों की सरकारें आई, लेकिन हर सरकार ने विकास की गति को जारी रखा। सभापति जी, हमने IITs बनाए, इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, हमने IIMs बनाए, इंडियन इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मैनेजमेंट, अस्पताल बनाए, ऑल इंडिया इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ मेडिकल साइंसेस। हमने अंतरिक्ष के क्षेत्र में विश्व प्रसिद्ध संस्थान बनाए। सभापति जी, हमने स्कॉलर्स पैदा किए, हमने साइंटिस्ट पैदा किए, हमने इंजीनियर्स पैदा किए, हमने डॉक्टर्स पैदा किए।
If I can just interrupt a minute for our overseas friends, just to translate what the minister said, because they may be wondering what the minister said. The first minister said that it is the cheapest form of transportation, shipping, which is a no-brainer really, but that's what he said. That he compared the amount, Mr. Nitin Gadkari was likely to join us very soon. And the next minister was the Minister of External Affairs, who also spoke about, if you can just tell the people from overseas what exactly she said.
Basically what she shared with the world was India in the last 70 years has grown, has gone forward, has created excellent professionals, whether they be doctors, whether they be scientists, and has created institutions of learning, which again is a matter of pride for all of us Indians. And therefore I add that whilst our leadership is very emphatic in sharing of the progress of India, I look forward to the time, not in the too distant future, that our leadership will also share with the world that India has also produced the best maritime, logistics and port professionals. The subject that I have been tasked with to share with you dignitaries here today is about the development and the integration of maritime assets and its regional role. To go back a little bit into history, this is a map which has been there since the 1st century AD, and the different trade routes at that time which covered various trades of India. I come to the modern period. I talked about Goa being a transshipment terminal. This was the time when Suez Canal did not exist. This was the period when Columbus mistakenly discovered America whilst his search was for India. This was the period that Vasco da Gama landed in India, and interestingly, with the assistance of an Indian seafarer, managed to navigate himself from African coast up to India. This was the era when the Chola kings had already established trading routes up to Java, Sumatra and Bali, all the way up to China. This was the time when Surat was also a large trading port, and the British endeavored big time to get an opportunity of establishing a toehold in Surat. And now we come to the colonial period, 18th to the 20th century. A lot of these ports were built, some of them were expanded, some of them shifted. Cotton, textiles, spices, dyes, these were the commodities which moved. I will deny I ever said this, but there were some unsavory commodities which also moved, which was opium, but I never said it. And at that time, the port capitals of the world were very clearly between Europe, between the Italian area, that is the Mediterranean Sea and the Adriatic Sea, the Hanseatic Empire, the trading Hanseatic cities were large, and of course so was London, Southampton and the various colonial powers. And Mumbai, Kolkata, Shanghai, those were the large capital ports. Coming to the time today, this slide seeks to share how the various port cities of the world have developed. And whilst this slide does not in detail portray ports in Africa, apart from Durban, we all know that there has been tremendous amount of development and growth which is taking place in ports like Djibouti, Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, and so many more. And this brings me to the aspect of maritime assets. In India, we have a problem, many times in our television, if any of you watch our Indian television, our television anchors are many times accused that their questions are longer than the answers. And I'm sorry, therefore, my background to reach this stage has been a little long. My apologies, please have patience. And therefore, my subject was maritime assets. We believe that there are two types of assets. Number one is the hard asset. Number two is the soft asset. Within the hard assets, we have direct assets such as berths, equipment, yards, various types of connectivity issues within the port. And as far as the indirect assets are concerned, you have warehousing, you have road connectivity, and you have rail connectivity. What we have tried to do, we have made out two charts for you, which shares with you where we are as far as our capability and capacity is concerned. There are two charts. This one shows you what is the container handling capacity. As you know, a large part of our day-to-day trade in the world has moved towards containers. As I was mentioning, this is a chart which shares with you the maritime assets in the container handling world. And we are proud to share with you that today in India, in a nutshell, we have 50 container berths with a key length of almost 15 kilometers and a handling capacity of almost 25 million TEUs. And on the dry bulk side, the dry cargoes that our ports handle, we have almost 140 berths with a length of 31 kilometers and a cargo handling capacity of almost 700 million tons. Our assessment for indirect assets shows that we have adequate amount of warehousing which surrounds various ports. Our Honorable Minister has created a framework where roads are connected to every single port. And that has ensured that the connectivity of ports by roads is top class. One of the challenges that of course we face is the rail connectivity to our ports. As we all know, for a port, evacuation is the be-all and end-all of a port. If it is, for all practical purposes, the lifeline of a port, we can bring in the largest ships with the maximum amount of cargo and handle it at the fastest possible speed. But if that cargo fails to get evacuated, the port cannot handle any cargo anymore. We all know that in modern times, scales of economy is the key. To make a port viable, by and large, you need to handle approximately 50 million tons of cargo or 1 million TEUs. That's the minimum economic viability. Now, for that to be handled and evacuated in time, basically the challenge to us is going to be having 40 trains a day reaching into that port, which is almost 2 trains an hour. Therefore, what we have tried,
go ahead, please.
And therefore what we have tried to do is done a assessment and rating. And in India, we would like to believe that our infrastructure for the port sector is comparable to probably the best in the world. You will see a lot of our ports which are competing with various international champions. As far as connectivity is concerned, we continue to work on the rail connectivity to help us. Now I come to the aspect of soft assets. There are 5 soft assets which all of us we know. All these soft assets are closely interlinked with each other. You cannot have ease of doing business if the regulatory framework does not support the same. Research and development is not possible if we are weak in the human resources. Technology cannot be introduced without the necessary regulatory framework or without the necessary human resources. All these points are interlinked. For ease of doing business, what have we done in India? We have figured out that what constitutes ease of doing business is to have the least amount of documentation, minimum manual intervention, and maximum digitalization. One needs to improve operational efficiency and productivity. Regulatory intervention, such as amendments of antiquated acts, comprehensive policy projects like the SAGAR Mala, and e-governance goals are also the pathways that ensure ease of doing business. Basically, have a holistic approach to adopt and adapt the best global practices. Regulatory framework. Let me share with you a small video.
One of the things, when we're talking about the future, strangely enough, I don't know, maybe wrong to say strangely enough, but India has done certain things that are being used around the world. A lot of, for example, you've got lighter products because we have less bandwidth and less speed in India. Give us some examples how what's happening, worked on in India that's being used around the world.
I mean, there are several examples. Maps, we talked about maps earlier,
Maps.
and YouTube Go, so the ability to actually cache videos offline, watch it whenever you want to. We started in India, we're taking it globally. We recently launched a product called Google Tez, and for payments. We are able to do it in India first because of the digital payments infrastructure, right, which India has done. So we're doing it in India, and we're going to take it to the rest of the world and say, look, this is how you do it. And yeah, very proud.
Yeah.
And this clearly shows that if the regulatory framework is enabling, catalytic, inclusive, it is holistic, and it is immediate, global path-breaking developments do take place in India. Human resources, this is one area where the government and our minister has emphasized a great deal in terms of skill development, and various institutes are being re-energized into taking its place in the leadership role. Research and development. We all know that shipping, maritime, logistics and port sectors are undergoing incredible changes. Every half a decade has seen changes in port designs, ship design, navigation, fuel systems, cargo handling systems, and the various practices. The only 2 questions that we need to ask ourselves, are we ready for the change? And in some cases, can we be the change ourselves? Technology, with our stated objective of reduction in costs, of digitalization, of minimal human intervention, and of single window cargo movements, technology will be the key driver. This is a global race. Every customer has a smartphone, every stakeholder has a smartphone, every banker transacts with a smartphone. The time has come, and without a moment's delay, that India needs its own port community system, and India needs a shipping, transport and trade handling system. This is an assessment of where we are, and we have paths to cross, and we are confident that in the next 2 years, you will see this needle pointing to a different direction. Therefore, in conclusion, the integration of maritime assets, competitive connectivity is going to be the key. We know that our cargo handling charges in the ports are globally competitive. And we also know that our rail transportation charges are probably the highest in the world. We also know that out of the total logistics cost pie, the inland transportation rate constitutes upward of 80% of our logistics costs. For the future, we already know that a turnaround has started. By 2022, India should be handling 2 billion tons of seaborne non-container traffic and 30 million TEUs. Our port-based infrastructure is already capable of handling this traffic. Connectivity will be the key. It is a race against time. We are becoming a highly interconnected world, and the kind of participation in this hall confirms the same. Our success will depend on how quickly and effectively we can adopt and adapt these changes, especially for our neighbors and our global partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kotak. I think you've set the ball rolling, and as a good opening batsman, I think you've given a good start to the day's proceedings. Mr. Priyadarshi Das of the RIS to take the podium.
Chair, Honorable Minister, Mr. Gadkari, ladies and gentlemen, friends. The topic is so exciting, I don't know where to begin and where to end. But whatever work we have done at RIS and my own research on the subject, I will try to link the subject to the economic dimensions of the opportunities that is there in the ocean resources from the point of trade and investment. I will not go to discuss trade and investment in general, providing data and other things. I was thinking to do that, but fitting the occasion, I have reduced the data part and will talk more of the issues that matter, and those need to be debated with more focus than just the trends. But before I start the discussion of ocean resources, which I will be doing under the terminology called blue economy, I will give the broad trends what has happened to the Indian Ocean Rim countries' exports and imports in the recent years. Can we go to the next slide, please? So if you see all the Indian Ocean Rim countries here, 18 countries are there, they have experienced a slowdown in the exports and imports post-crisis. And in the last 5 years, if you see the compound annual growth rate also, it has gone down. Unless otherwise there is some question here, I'll move to the next one. And then here you find some numbers that talks about whether the Indian Ocean Rim countries are investing in each other rather than investing in the rest of the world. They are investing in each other. The amounts, the numbers here would be large for the large country and small for the small country because of the heterogeneity in the grouping itself. It has LDC members, it has a developed country members. I'm referring to Indian Ocean Rim Association, which is a broad representative regional grouping for the Indian Ocean region as such. Before I go to blue economy sectors, I want to tell you here is that why do you need to emphasize the contribution of the economic potential of the ocean resources to the overall growth and development? Yesterday Minister referred that we have already consumed the maximum to the very great extent the land-based resources. But the appetite to grow has not yet, is not complete. There are many pockets of underdevelopment in different parts of the world, even in Indian Ocean region, where you need to activate those resources, their optimum use, and then ensuring the sustainability of those resources, their replenishment, in accordance with the biological parameters of those resources like fishery stock, and then the ocean habitat, the equilibrium in the ocean habitat. All these things need to be taken into account when we talk of the ocean resources as a whole. So blue economy is a terminology which captures all different aspects of ocean resources, its management, its use, the governance mechanism for that, the cooperation framework that you need to evolve to ensure that these resources contribute to the human development and the balanced development of the coastal nations. The sectors are broadly fisheries, marine biotechnology, marine minerals, marine manufacturing, port and shipping is one of the major traditional sectors of blue economy. Then you have services sectors as well, marine tourism, marine commerce, and information communication technology. So you can see there is no sector left in the blue economy sector. In fact, there are many sectors which overlap both the land and the sea. And we have done a couple of papers at RIS which will give you a sense of that, how these sectors are interlinked and what type of growth potential it offers to the mankind. You must be wondering that human civilization have depended on oceans for centuries. So what is great about talking about blue economy and what is left to discuss? What is left to discuss is to create a framework which does not just extract the resources, but puts in a mechanism which believes in restocking, replenishment of the resources, so that the faster use is compensated by a process of restocking of those resources as well. If you have come across the literature that comes from Food and Agriculture Organization, 90% of our fish species are already consumed. So overfishing is already done, so you don't have to bother whether there is any fish to catch or not. In fact, in certain areas, the biological stock has gone down significantly. So it is a danger to the sustainability of that resources, because so many people depend on fisheries for livelihood. Is blue economy a significant component of economy? It is. If you find some indicative figures here that blue economy output constitute this proportion of GDP, you can see somewhere it accounts for 15%, 4%, somewhere it is 2%, like that. These years vary because there is no systematic account of the blue economy sectors. I will come in a minute. But for knowledge and for further discussion, these numbers indicate that we need to seriously take into account the unutilized potential existing in those blue economy sectors. What is so contentious about the blue economy? Blue economy is being discussed everywhere now, even at regional forums, UN, everywhere. But nobody knows how to measure it. And that is precisely the problem. We do not know how big is blue economy in India. We have done these studies, but we do not know what proportion of blue economy, India's blue economy constitutes the overall economy. We are trying to do it. We are in the process. Maybe in some years down the line we will come across. The problem is that you do not know what constitutes the blue economy activities. So what we have started, and others all over the world they have done, is that categorizing these sectors into traditional emerging sectors and then clubbing them the activities as per the statistical classifications available like HS, SITC and others, so that some sort of methodological foundation can be given to estimate the size of blue economy, and then the rest will follow. Unless you get to know the size of blue economy, how would you plan for investment? So that's why the measurement of blue economy is important. So sum of value of output or value added of blue sectors. Is there any common accepted coverage of activities? I just mentioned that no measurable indicators to capture the benefits of blue economy, even though we know that ocean resources contribute enormously. No proper statistical database, consolidated global database to tell you whether Ireland is better placed in terms of blue economy than India or not. But if you ask the small island development states, they say that we depend on oceans for everything, for livelihood, for achieving high growth, everything. So how do you deal with those issues? So there is a need for proper accounting system. So that accounting system could be based on anything. People have written papers on national accounting system by going by the systems of national accounts. Some of them have taken the input-output table, but to tell you that none of these systems are comprehensive and complete to account for all these changes and dynamics in the ocean resources use and management. Besides this accounting problem, there are several other problems like relating to the governance. Suppose there is a case of overfishing in the high seas. Who governs that? What is the role of the flag state? How much jurisdiction the regional fishing management organizations have over those issues? So these management and governance issues also need to be properly examined, and then suitable regional cooperation frameworks needs to be devised so that the free riding of these ocean resources can be avoided. Now I'm coming to the specific opportunities in certain sectors like deep sea mining. There are huge literature talking about the polymetallic nodules exist in the sea floor. Technologies are there, but no serious commercialization has happened because the cost of technology development and deploying those technology for commercial utilization of those resources is at experimental stage. Even though somewhere in the Pacific the process has begun. The Pacific island states like Fiji, PNG, Tonga and other countries, they consider blue economy as the lifeline of their economy. And Indian government, in collaboration with the government of Fiji, organized a conference in May where I took part. Also there we found that how serious they are talking about climate change, fishery resources depletion and all other things. So I made a point in that conference, mainstreaming blue economy in national economic policy, which we at RIS or our team, we discussed that if you talk of blue economy, how will you do? What will you do? Except talking about blue economy is big, blue economy is significant for the coastal nations, what exactly you want to do? How do you convince the government, the provincial governments to take measures to achieve these growth triggers that are there? Even some people went to the extent of claiming that in the recession period, when the conventional sectors are not delivering, maybe blue economy can provide the stimulus to maintain the growth momentum. So mainstreaming blue economy means sensitizing the government and other stakeholders that blue economy has to be considered as a policy component. So far, fishery is dealt by the Minister of Fisheries, shipping is dealt by Minister of Shipping. There is very little inter-ministerial coordination from the point of view of blue economy development. There is coordination, but not from the perspective of blue economy development. So there is a need for sensitizing and the policy makers that these are the opportunities and these are the challenges. In each sector you find problem. Fishery, overfishing and illegal and non-registered fishing is happening. Aquaculture, a lot of focus on the farming, but then you cannot ignore the environmental pollution caused due to that. Tourism, if you say so many motels, hotels would come into coastal cities, it will lead to sewage pollution, plastics in the seawater. It's already started. Malaysia somewhere they are talking about marine debris and other things. Deep sea mining, high investment, poor commercialization, no assurance of the profit stream. Marine biotechnology is a very profitable segment of the industry, but very low R&D at present, and low investment also. Renewable energy, cost of technology development is high. Some sort of maturity is achieved as far as tidal and wave energy is concerned, but there is potential for realizing the renewable energy. Another sector would be what is not there in the ocean. All sectors are covered. So how to begin with? So once you decide that we need to mainstream it, the next will be start with a target sector approach. So that you can, the others, those who are not convinced, they will start believing that okay, it's delivering the results. It depends, it could vary from country to country. If fishery is the most vital sector for some country, some small SIDs like Seychelles or Mauritius or Maldives, they can focus on fishing. But coastal tourism could be some other country's priority. So that so each country has to find out certain sectors to begin with, which may be called target sector of blue economy, and then plan out the investments with a definite timeline so that some monitoring of the progress can be made. So this is essentially the blue economy approach to ocean resources management. And when you talk of security and all other things, there is overlapping issues between the security and the ocean resources management. Unless there is a framework that builds the trust among the coastal nations, there will be conflict among them to use the resources. For example, migratory species. Migratory species move in the sea. Today they are in the Thailand waters, tomorrow they will be in Bangladesh waters. So if you plan out, you can catch those fish and then you can benefit from them. But that is not the solution to the issues that we are talking about. So the trade and investment dimension of the coastal economies has a lot to do with the management of blue economy, planning the investments in those, and then evolving a mechanism, something like regional fishery mechanism. The same could be for other sectors in a regional cooperation framework, so that the ocean economy that we are talking about will address a lot of issues, and then the whole sustainable development goals and other things can be achieved. In fact, sustainable development goal 14 is linked to ocean resources. So with this, I will end. If there are any more questions, I will respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Das. One announcement before the next speaker takes the podium. There are slips kept on each table. Please put your questions, if there are any, to any of the speakers. We'll collect those questions and then they will be answered in one go after all the speakers have spoken. So I now call upon Mr. Monwar Hossain, who is DG of South Asia and the Bangladesh Foreign Ministry, to deliver his address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Honorable Minister, Chair of the panel, and the other distinguished speakers. Very good morning to you all. I'm sure we are running short on time, so I'll give a quick snapshot of the issue of Bangladesh-India relations, since I look after and deal with the issue on day-to-day basis, and some sort of, bilateral and regional cooperation and connectivity that we have with India and other countries in the region. So I was thinking, what is the most important word we can say about Bangladesh-India relations? I found, there were ups and downs in the 70s and 80s in the relationship, but tremendous amount of goodwill has generated in in 1 decade. So I found the word trust. I think there was a lack of trust or a kind of deficit in trust, but currently the trust is now fulfilled, it is up to the brink, and we are expecting the trust surplus. So as good neighbors, good friends and good partners, we believe that trust can make us move forward in our relationship. And there are commonalities. The realization is that there are commonalities between our two countries. Some are fixed, as I say, the cultural, historical, ethnic, linguistic commonalities and commonalities in values. And there are some dynamic commonalities. There are some challenges and aspirations. The Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi, he said in Hindi, I don't speak Hindi very well, saath saath, paas paas. So there are common aspirations for the shared prosperity, and there are challenges like poverty and also terrorism and the climate changes. And we have seen since 2009, when our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina assumes office, for the second time in Bangladesh, there are a lot of initiatives has been undertaken, between the two countries, which restores the confidence based on which we are taking forward the relationship between Bangladesh and India. So the extent of cooperation, as I said, there was a fresh beginning at the political level. There are some high-level visits. Very recently, it's about 2 years, the Honorable Prime Minister Modi visited Bangladesh on his first tour to Bangladesh, and our Honorable Prime Minister this year in April came to Delhi, and a lot of things happened after that and before that. So there are two, actually I should say, the pre-key issues. One is the land boundary that was settled after 68 years, and thanks to the consensus between all political parties in Indian Parliament and dynamic leadership of the Indian Prime Minister, the land boundary issues are now settled, and the enclaves and the adversely possessed areas are exchanged, and the people are now, feeling happy and safe. And also we have this peacefully negotiated the maritime boundary. That's quite unprecedented. With the UNCLOS, we have made it and at the arbitration tribunal, and both our countries are happy with that. And one issue I would like to highlight, other than the government level, there is a third space we call civil society or the non-governmental organizations. They are also interacting at various occasions and for last few years. So you can see from here the extent of cooperation that are amongst us between Bangladesh and India. So I was thinking, these days we hear and we are concerned about infrastructure, and the anchor said today that there is Honorable Minister here who is the pioneer and mastermind of infrastructure projects in Bangladesh. I was thinking about how we can define the Bangladesh-India relationship in an infrastructural way. It is quite a coincidence perhaps that I am speaking in front of the Honorable Minister. So I tried to make a framework of Bangladesh-India relationship. It's a kind of brick and mortar. I thought it is a building. So let's see how it happens. I thought that there are, as I mentioned, there are deep-rooted fixed commonalities. As I said, the cultural, historical, linguistic, and ethnic and values. So I thought, since these are deep-rooted, this could act as the piling of the building. So, and the foundation, as you all know, in 1971 we got liberated from the occupation of Pakistan, and the people and the government of India, under the leadership of the then Prime Minister, actually supported quite heavily at the global level to the cause of Bangladesh's war of liberation. Not only that, there are a lot of people, about 10 million people came to take refuge in the neighboring contiguous states of India, and also a few thousand valiant soldiers of Indian Army died for the cause of Bangladesh. This very important happening, and also the ties between the leadership makes the foundation of that building. And in the building there are some pillars. I call it like the 5 pillars of Bangladesh-India relationship. These are security and border management, trade and investment, water resources management. Honorable Minister is also at the helm of the portfolio, very recently. And people-to-people contact, and the 5th one is the development partnership. So these are the 5 pillars of the cooperation. And how do we approach the Bangladesh-India relationship? I said it is at the bilateral level, as I have already mentioned, government to government. There are a lot of mechanisms through which we engage on various sectoral issues. And there are track 1.5 and track 2, the relationship side by side with the government diplomatic relationship. And another approach is sub-regional, which is actually taking prominence these days. This sub-region means Bangladesh, India's northeast, and the Nepal, Bhutan, and also the coastal states like Sri Lanka, Maldives, and this kind of relationship. And at the multilateral level also, Bangladesh and India discuss with each other, concern and take interest in each other's aspects and support each other's candidatures at the various multilateral fora. So now you can ask me, that where is the roof? The building without roof. I say it that way, since sky is the limit, I didn't put any roof on this relationship yet, so it can be, let's see what can be the size of the skyscraper. So now the topic of the day, the connectivity. So we have a lot of initiatives between our two countries at the bilateral level, as I have mentioned before. We all know actually what are the benefits of connectivity. It is the regional cooperation and integration. It can increase these things. And connectivity along with trade facilitation can significantly enhance intra-regional trade by reducing transportation time and trade cost. One speaker, Mr. Carter, probably told that it is a huge amount of cost involved when we carry things through roads or railways. So this connectivity through shipping and maritime sector will certainly reduce the cost. According to statistics, I'm not quite sure whether it is correct. The shipping connectivity, transportation through shipping and maritime way reduces the cost by 3 times. And also the connectivity contributes to reduce poverty, to develop sustainably and inclusive growth across the regions. Now, what are our ideas about connectivity? Our Honorable Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina said, and I quote, "Physical connectivity is important in ensuring overall peace, progress, and stability across South Asia. Multimodal physical connectivity links territories and communities, and Bangladesh approaches connectivity in that wider context in view." So this is a kind of, I think we have progressed much more than what is shown here. The connectivity up north with Bhutan and Nepal through Indian territories, and our connectivity with the northeastern Indian states through roads. We have direct bus services from Dhaka to Kolkata, then Agartala from Dhaka to Guwahati through Shillong, and we have been working to re-emerge the pre-1965 rail links in the western border of Bangladesh, and we are also constructing a new rail link from Agartala to Akhauda in Bangladesh. So we are trying to see the ways possible. It could be rail, it could be road. And very recently we also have a shipping connectivity with India. We have signed a coastal shipping agreement between Bangladesh and India. So this map is actually changing and will change in the future. So in shipping connectivity at the bilateral level, we have a cooperative agreement with India. We call it Protocol on Inland Water Transport and Trade. So that's the inland water connectivity from Kolkata, Haldia to up north in the northeastern state, Assam, Dhubri. So this is connected through the water route within Bangladesh. And there is a coastal shipping agreement, as I have mentioned, and from Chittagong and Mongla, but especially from Chittagong, the ships come to Visakhapatnam and Kokinada, and there are, of course, in future there are chances this will come down in the southern Indian states. And there is an MOU signed between Bangladesh and India in 2015 during the visit of Honorable Prime Minister Modi for uses of Chittagong and Mongla port. We are still working on that for a detailed agreement and standard operating procedure on how to use these ports. And the Indian government is also helping us in building infrastructure along the inland water routes. And there are new port of calls, there are new warehouses are built by the Indian support. So what these connectivities does and how these help us, as I said, they can increase the people-to-people contact and they can increase trade facilitation. So even Bangladesh and India has already signed an MOU on passenger and cruise vessel to be run on the PIWTT, the inland water routes and the coastal routes. So you are all aware, Indian government has extended the line of credit. In the first one it was 1 billion, second 2 billion, and third one, extended this year is 4.5 billion. All these lines of credits are mostly on the infrastructure development, this multimodal, either fairway dredging or improving the ports of call, etc. So now at sub-regional level, what we can do? As I said, for sustainable development, we have to devise and we have to look forward to a goal and objective. Then we can, keeping that end in mind, we can develop the rules and regulations. But one thing I'm sure, most of the countries in the region will see non-securitization of the routes. By non-securitization, I mean the openness of the navigation and the safety of the navigation. And what I understand, we will not just look forward to the bilateral or the inter-country level connection like Bangladesh, India, Sri Lanka, or Sri Lanka, Maldives, India. But we would like to see the Bay of Bengal is crisscrossed, connected from India's west to east, so that the Indian goods can be carried from their west to the eastern side at less cost and less time. So this could be an idea, this could be a thought, that you can think more on this. And what could be the package? Now we are thinking about only the goods transport, but we can think about the connection, the connectivity of the maritime logistics. We can think about the passenger and cruise vessels. We can think about the multimodal across the region, like from Nepal and Bhutan are landlocked. So we can support them, facilitate them with the support of the Indian government to bring their things, by road from Nepal or Bhutan through the Indian territory to Bangladesh, and then they can use the Bangladesh's inland water and perhaps the ports. And multimodal access we are also giving to the support of to the benefit of the India's northeastern states. They can use our ports, and from there they can use the multimodal rail and road connectivity to take things to the northeastern states. And as I said, for the Bay of Bengal routes, Chittagong, Kolkata's east, and Colombo can be connected, or Malé, Colombo, and the southern ports of India can also be connected. I'm sorry, I'm rather little quick, but if you have questions, you can always ask me during the Q&A session. I will clarify more. So what we have to do now? We have to think, we have to create a kind of atmosphere that everybody is attracted to these new ideas, so that it can be implemented. But for implementation, we have to think about certain principles. The mutual respect, as I mentioned here, the fairness and equity and win-win situation for everybody. And of course, with the compliance of domestic and international laws. There are some challenges, there are some capacity constraints in this country, since we are way behind than the developed countries. And I think for that, we need a comprehensive cooperation. As I said, the mutual respect and the negotiation has to be done in such a way that all the countries can get the benefit to their mutual, people. So with the amount of goodwill that has been generated in last about 1 decade, not only between Bangladesh and India, I think throughout the region and the sub-region, I'm sure and I'm confident that the connectivity will be taken forward for the mutual prosperity and for the shared prosperity of our region, of course with certain shared responsibilities. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hossain, for that Bangladesh growing relationship. I think it's one sterling example of cooperation between two neighbors who have overcome their problems and their wrinkles. May I now call upon Sanjay Parashar to deliver his talk.
Adharaniya Mantri Shri Gadkari ji and my dear delegates, on behalf of FINS, for next 15 minutes I will focus on connectivity and integration of a coastal economy. My country is blessed with a fantastic coast. And if I look at the map, and east and west coast, there is a bit of asymmetry. The natural resources are high on the east coast, and the finished goods by the law of nature has taken onto the mode of export or import by the west coast. And this is somewhere I feel the coastal shipping steps in. And being a master mariner who sailed for 15 years and 15 years in the office, with the kind of circle I have, I would say the coastal economy, when I used to sail and see from see in the other countries, when I first time joined in Sweden or I went to Norway, I used to feel as a youngster, oh, when do I see this in India? And I'm so lucky that in my lifetime I have a government and a minister who's known as not just Minister of Shipping, a minister with action. So that is how I respect you, sir, and my fraternity respects you. I'm glad that Norway is our partner. I will not go into the 4 pillars which have been declared by the government for Sagar Mala. I will focus on the 5th one. Why the 5th one? Whatever you do for the 4, the bottom line comes, how do we ship the cargo? How do we ship the people? So if we have to do this, it has to come through ships. And I think that is the place where the countries who are wanting to do partnership, not just for few years, but strategically for many years, need to actually do a proper kind of work which stays on for years. Whether it comes to coastal shipping insurance, well, $60 billion if government is going to invest, let me tell you, if the private players want to come in, it is $1 trillion industry. Insurance of ships, the hub is Europe. I've been to Lloyd's, fantastic building. We have started something in India. For it to mature up, it will take time. Can the Europeans, can the people who are ahead, who are miles ahead on this with their experiences, partner us? Green coastal shipping is a fantastic, successful thing happening in Norway because the kind of land they have, rail and roads, is secondary and shipping is primary. For us, we are getting to the shipping as primary now, but maritime equipments, can we have these coastal economic zones which government has nominated on the Indian coast with so much on the skill development? Can we have something as a breeding ground for this? And I personally feel the slide what you see now is certainly bound to change. सर परिवर्तन तो संसार का नियम है, हम तो इसको परिवर्तन करेंगे और हमारी सरकार कर रही है. प्रत्यक्ष को प्रमाण की आवश्यकता नहीं है. And that is how I see this import duty, the kind of accountancy which makes the painful procedures for us with GST and other things coming and we the business community settling down. I think the grading very soon, as was shown in one of the earlier slides by Kotakji, should go on to good very soon. E-governance, I'm glad Honorable Minister himself says, well, this must happen soon. It's already happening. We are seeing a drastic change. 3 lakh seafarers have already seen this change from DG shipping side. Now it's time to see this change from the coastal shipping, coastal economy side. When it comes to bureaucracy and decision making, we have still a lot of glitches. We need to work on this. Private equity, well, I tell you today, shipping, the business people like to see how much returns. Let me tell you, you can have the cyclical nature of the shipping, but shipping is not one generation job. And it will take probably some time to percolate down. But the day it happens, I see this interest rate from 13% coming down. But if there are strategic partners and MSMEs have to succeed, it certainly cannot be out of global competition staying at 13%. We certainly need it at 4% to 5%. Research papers, well, Fins being a think tank, it's something new which is happening in India in the last 2-3 years. I have never seen in my life so many kind of seminars happening, whether coastal shipping or blue economy. I think this government push has made the citizens like us to be the soldiers on the land, trying to do research with our real experience. And I feel this grading will also in the coming days improvise. Well, we had fantastic thing in 1970, Coastal Ship Owning Development Fund. I think certainly we messed it up. It got shut down. I feel it is the time to revisit this. Probably this is one of the action plan where Fins think in India, this can be a catalyst for us. the failure reports, when you try out something new, failures are bound to happen. And I am probably one of the many in this industry who feel we got nothing to hide in this. Failure reports are to be shared so that there is no repeat, and the corrective measures, the kind of incentives which come in by learning from others' failures actually becomes a stepping stone. And if I tell you one of my experiences in this particular issue of failures, when I shared it with Honorable Minister on a Roro thing, it took him exactly 5 hours to change 2 policies of India, whether it was pertaining to the port charges or whether it was pertaining to bringing down a regulation on the trailers. So I think if the action can be done in 5 hours, it depends on how right and proper your feedback is. This government listens, and we as Finns, sir, we know it firsthand from you. When it comes to National Shipping Board, 1959, it was from the Parliamentary Act. I think they have got a big job to do. And I'll be very pleased to see a National Shipping Board which not just formulates the policy, which goes back to the government with the fantastic or the negative feedback so that the corrections are done at the right time. There can be nothing except a dynamic changes which are required on the real-time basis to happen. And I would say that whatever DG Shipping has authorized in so many years, over years on the coastal shipping, probably it is time for us to really see the actionable things on that and probably implement. I would say the associations have to come out of that feel and comfort that it's only for my members. Well, with the today's technology, let me tell you, with RTI Acts, let me be very clear. Industry belongs to every citizen of India. So let us not pursue an agenda for just the members. The problems of the members is different. Proposing an agenda for the country is different. So I think it is time for the role of think tanks to be more wider than what it has been over the years. Well, this is something which everybody knows. Even our Honorable Prime Minister says it sometimes during his lecture delivers, where he says, we would like to see ourselves being rated as one in top 50 or probably, one of the best in the world. The times are changing. Well, if Indian coastal ships and foreign ships have to come in, I think the problems what we face at the port or with the authorities, and I think the transparency what has to come in, it has to come in very fast. E-clearance of the ships, the way it is done in Singapore, thousands of ships come in, thousands of ships go, and we have only 13 major ports. And if I look at E-NOA, that is notice of arrival, I've seen it in 20 years back in US. Why not use ISRO satellites, and why not to have that system in India? And I think it's a pretty secure system. If US Navy can use a Maersk PCTC for 25 years to do their job, why can't we have new out-of-the-box thinking with our strategic partners, with the kind of assets what are required, rather than harping upon just the government company with 60 ships to deliver what the defense needs? Because the needs of defense forces have changed. But the ships what are available with Indians or Indian flags have not really reached that stage. So we certainly need a lot of strategic partners, not just partners. And I think the ship construction, sir, I'm glad. Sir, in your ministry, you have cancelled contracts when the speed has not been met. And I'm sure the kind of pressure what is coming on to deliver a ship making is in India will probably in few years see trying to match the best in the world, because the 3 shipbuilding countries among the Far East will be our challenge, not just actually making it for India. And I think with Make in India, probably we have a lot of hope happening here. Marpol and salvage, well, Bangladesh is a fantastic example for us. Why not share the resources? We had Sundarbans Delta, we had issues happening there. We had Maldives where we had to do Operation Navy. We needed specialized ships. My perception is, in coming days, what you did in European Union, sir, I think it will be just replicated all over the world. Because if humanity has to do well, it has to do well going beyond boundaries. As you rightly said from Bangladesh, that the trust factor is increasing, it must increase worldwide. Unfortunately, we got only 100 coastal ships. And I think today's demand is 300 coastal ships. If it is today's demand, just imagine where do we go in 2025. National Shipping Board has done a little bit of research and displayed it on their website. I'm just putting it only for your view. End-to-end logistics and costs for shipping through ports. Well, Honorable Minister himself knows a lot. If he can display it on the website saying that I've got 12 thought points, I've got 2 major actions, let me tell you, half of the action is done and the rest half we are going to see very soon. So if we are saying we got a problem with this end-to-end logistics, there is a lot of work being done by National Shipping Board. And I would say the simplification process and all that, after whatever research has been done, if Finns is asked to work with National Shipping Board, there are enough of the scholars which are available, and I think if some countries want to partner it and see how next 10 years, 20 years it will be, we are absolutely for it. And Inland Waterway Authority of India, wow. In my lifetime, I won't leave it to my son, who's one among the audience. I won't like him to be struggling with this. I would like him to be one of the game changers with this. What started in 1986 actually started working after April 2016, when even I had one small stall there with one of my friends, Captain Salim Walawalkar. In April 2016, we had a great summit. And I think this is the fastest moving infrastructure probably of the world. Leave aside India, because when we talk about 1/6 population of the world. So every project in India, when we say billions, rest be assured, it will be trillions soon. When we talk about 2025, I think the problems what we see in coastal shipping, we may see the same in inland vessels, the small vessels. Social media has changed the way we look at life. I think husband and wife, we talk more on WhatsApp nowadays, you know. So, well, the coastal shipping guys need local language, local Wikipedia. And I'm glad one of the persons from Pune, who's probably also working with higher authorities, is getting onto that for the Marathi language. Just imagine a state has a Wikipedia of the language what people understand and the fisherman understands, and they're probably the social media not only for coastal economics. I think even the behavioral things which are going to come in, probably if I see 2030, where I could not see WhatsApp 10 years back, I think it will be a biggest conduct for the marketing of the business. The mainland coastline is the game changer for me. As a think tank, I feel it is the fishermen being my first line of defense. The kind of equipments they have, the kind of actionable intelligence they give, I think that will be one of the fantastic outcomes of involving Samudra Putras. Why we call them soldiers at sea? Because they are the one who are miles away and they know exactly what is happening out at sea. They know what is right and what is also not right. And fishing, sir, the dignitaries from overseas, 22 countries, let me tell you, you guys have been the rulers with the trawlers. Our 37% is still with the dinghy boat, but a lot of funds have already been nominated. There is fisheries cooperative banks. I think this is the time for you to come and see economically what is viable for you. 11 million metric tons of fish production. Well, you may find a lot of vegetarians here, but let me tell you, when you go to the coast, I think fishing is a very huge industry. 40 lakh, that is nearly 4 crore families actually are involved in this. Just imagine this particular business going 3 folds. So for me, the big coastal boom will be actually for the fishermen, the 40 lakh families on the coast. And I tell you, my coasts are secured if I see this happening, called coastal economy, to the last man standing as fishermen. If India, Pakistan, Bangladesh and Desh has to be one, I think we do the maximum ship cutting. What has to start has to come to an end. 6-year-old ship being scrapped at Alang. We do this business. Let me tell you, the kind of R&D could have been done with the kind of equipments which were offloaded. We could have done a fantastic work. So even as an industry, from ship breaking to ship making, in India there is enough potential. And this being another billion-dollar industry, being restricted not just to Gujarat now, I feel India will remain a top player. You like it, you don't like it, we can keep that aside for the regulations purpose. But Hong Kong Convention is a reality for India also very soon. Out of 141 yards, 50 yards are already complying with Hong Kong Convention. If I look at the domestic and international tourism, I don't need to say much. I think the minister has said it so many times, we probably look at it happening in a big way. This is what I feel we need. These are the actionable points from FINS. The e-governance has to go top up. The corruption-free संकल्प से सिद्धि तक जो हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है 2022 तक कर दिखाएंगे, माननीय मंत्री जी, उसमें FINS तो आपका भागीदार है. Every youth of India is going to do it for you because we have learned only the correct way of conducting business. That's the new generation here. So 30% of cargo movement, e-governance, the rankings, they can all follow. The strategic partnerships can follow. But let me tell you, the biggest gateway to all this is stable Asia and strategic thoughtfulness of Indian coastal economy. आने वाले समय में हमारे तट इन्हीं पैमानों पर नापे जाएंगे, and I think I want all the confidence to say, with the powers we have done the homework, India is a maritime power. Jai Hind.
Thank you, Sanjay, for that.
More specific on technologies we look forward to in this sector. For example, robotics, mechanization, the deep sea technologies. We need levels and timelines for induction in this sector. So, what is it that the marine sector or the ocean economy, blue economy, should look forward to? Should it be mechanization? Should it be more technology? If you would like to answer.
See, technology solves most of the problems. Like you need technology for exploration, but robotics will replace human labor. So labor-intensive societies like labor-abundant countries like India would not go for robotics or a unprecedented scale of mechanization. Rather, technology components should be for the optimum utilization of the resources. For example, polymetallic nodules are there, manganese and others. If you do not harness those seabed resources, maybe certain industries will be affected, like rare earth and other metals. So you need to develop the technology for exploring those resources from the seabed, not to replace human labor. So one has to think about, and given the condition, this is for a labor-abundant economy. If you generalize that, if it's a labor-scarce economy, then maybe technology can be adapted for all types of activities in the ocean sectors.
Yes, Mr. Kotak, perhaps because you are in the business and since you are into logistics.
In the port, yes. The answer to that question is, of course, we need technology. There are two types of technologies which are required or which are there. One is the cargo handling systems per se. The second is what I'll cover is, if you look at what is a port, it is a bridge between a producer and a consumer. And there is a ship or a transport which is carrying those goods. Every, therefore, ton of cargo which lands in a port is basically documented. Nothing is undocumented. And it is a transaction. The transaction is linked to transport, the transaction is linked to banking, the transaction is linked to a various amount. Putting together a platform, you can imagine the hundreds and billions of transactions. If that can be instantaneous, you can just imagine the productivity gains and the costs coming down. So that is something which is being worked on, and the sooner we do it, the better it is.
Mr. Hossain, would you like to add something?
An expert on technology, but I think, we have to do some sort of research and development, but I'm not sure whether still there is, time has come for the robotics, but mechanization could be there, for the handling and someone, Mr. I think Captain, he said about this e-notification and all these things, so that should come into picture to move forward this, kind of connectivity.
And what is Bangladesh's experience in that?
Bangladesh, I am not actually directly related to shipping and maritime.
But I'm sure there is some mechanization.
Yeah, there is some mechanization going on. We are developing our ports, the handling capacities, we are making new jetties. and we are making the container terminal in the new ports. So, and a third port is coming up at the Pyra towards the southwestern part of Bangladesh. So, this is kind of mechanization and the development. Thank you.
Thank you. There's an opinion which was given by Tiwawa, I don't know whether I got the name correct, Tiwana, which says, in our opinion, India needs its own ships by Indian nationals. Does it mean that Indian nationals should own it or run it? I'm not sure, but certainly it's a thought worth pursuing. Maybe Sanjay can answer that.
I think the biggest strategic partners can be our own Indians, Indian passport holders who have got enough funds overseas.
Abroad.
They must come in.
Okay.
And I think that says it all.
Okay, let me move on to the next question. This is for Mr. Kotak specifically. Your view on logistics cost in India and the cost in Indian ports, the sundry and the logistics cost in Indian ports. What is your view? This is the question by Rajesh Doshi, who says he wants your views on logistics cost. Maybe you want to give it a thought. For Ms. Priyadarshi Das, what are the challenges in getting the economy as part of mainstream economy, the blue economy as a mainstream economy? You did mention that it is a challenge, so can you elaborate that? This is from Uma Subhindra. And again for Mr. Das and Mr. Kotak, there are two. You want to write down or you want to answer first and then go on to the next question? Maybe you can answer. What is the logistics cost and sundry costs for at the ports itself?
It's a very unfair time to ask the question with the minister sitting right next to me. It's unfair, but anyway. The logistics cost, as I mentioned, let's figure out that there is the port, there is the inland. There are certain sections where it is high, there are certain sections where it has been proven over a long period of time that our port charges are very competitive. Let me turn that question around a little bit and take the assistance of our colleague and partner from Bangladesh. Imagine today there is a lot of textile goods or raw materials which move from Gujarat to Bangladesh and Dhaka. There are trucks which are carrying that across so many states of India and through the land border ends up reaching Bangladesh at probably 1,80,000 rupees per truck. Now, if we could basically move that cargo into a Visakhapatnam and take it by sea, that cost will come down to probably 40,000. Therefore, logistics is not only a question of per unit cost, but also how do you structure the entire transportation.
Yeah, thank you. Mr. Das, this question about challenges of getting or mainstreaming blue economy in the mainstream economy from Uma Subhindra.
See, if you have seen the slide, what I referred briefly there, there are certain issues which needs to be handled before we go for a systematic plan of promoting blue economy. Let us take the example of fisheries. When you go for fish farming, with the knowledge that the capture fishery, we don't have adequate stock, you need to have in mind that what type of framework you have for the fish processing and value addition in fisheries. You know, the traditional fish export destinations like United States, Japan and EU, they demand a certain type of fish products. And that's why most of the exporters face non-tariff barriers in those markets also. So raw fish, converting them to a sellable fish product in those markets where you can fetch high value, it requires some sort of planning. So mainstreaming means don't go in a chalta hai.
Don't go in a haphazard way.
Haphazard way. Keep that, there are a lot of potential in there. Another example I will give you, marine biotechnology sector, for example, pharmaceuticals. There are certain algae, some seaweeds, we do not know how to do, but they have a very high quality medicinal value. Even the cosmetics also come from those sea coral reefs and other things. So we need to understand first, then encourage the private firm to invest, because private firms are generally risk averse to the technologies, the areas which are not understood properly, unless they are aware of the profit aspects of the profit stream. So like this, it is going one more step and having a framework which takes into account the all different aspects of the opportunities there. It's not that we do not know, we know, but we need to know it in a holistic sense rather than in piecemeal.
View it in a holistic sense and take it forward. Thank you very much. Mr. Kotak, there is I don't know whether it's up your street, this question, but from Major General K.N. Mirji, he says, what are the plans for creating additional inland container yards close to ports in coordination with railways? Would you like to take it on, or because it's more to do with the government policy rather than, I will skip that. Okay, we'll have to skip that. But there is one more question for Mr. Das. Fishermen from India and the neighboring countries are often caught transgressing its foreign shores and get apprehended. How can we prevent this? Again, it's a security question, so I'm not sure whether you want to answer that.
This does not fall in the domain of blue economy, the way I describe. It's a legal and regulatory issue. But to tell you that we have something called Regional Fishery Management Organizations called RFMO. Those are not having the binding powers to impose the regulations. The regulations they subscribe, it's like an organization under the Food and Agriculture Organization. They are prescriptive. Each fishing nation is expected to oblige to the global norms, that you don't, if you are fishing beyond EEZ, what type of norms you should follow. If you are aware of certain migratory fish stock, how to
harness that stock.
Yeah. Instead of going in a selfish way, not leaving anything, and then fishing only the adult species, not the juvenile ones. So certain disciplines are
norms have to be maintained, I guess.
But fishermen caught in some other country, that is a matter of the
security. I think Mr. Hossain has a take on that, because India, Bangladesh has this problem.
India, Bangladesh has been seeing this problem for quite some time. I mean, I rather say, it is not always intentional. Sometimes due to like storm and the cyclone, the fishermen stray to each other's sides. From Bangladesh they go to the Indian waters, and from Indian side they come to Bangladeshi waters. Since Indian fishermen are more in number, so it happens to the Bangladesh side more. But we have a mechanism, kind of informal, and we are also planning to have a kind of formal understanding with the Indian agencies, so that we can solve the problem. Now what happens, when we find something, the Indian fishermen are coming to the Bangladeshi side, the Indian High Commission in Dhaka or from the headquarters here, they let us know, and we coordinate with our Coast Guard and Navy, to send them back, but one thing we also did, since I heard that, and also I know that the Indian fishermen, big trawlers, they use the GPS system. So in the GPS system earlier, there was a mention of it, since the maritime boundary was not demarcated earlier, so the GPS system they were using were a bit of old version. So we have notified the Indian MEA, and they, very gladly accepted the notification and informed the fishermen to be aware of the new demarcated lines, so that they can use an updated GPS. So I hope these things will be reduced in the future.
In fact, let me update the audience on this, since you spoke about the GPS. ISRO has come up with a software and a new mobile handset for fishermen called Navik, which the Prime Minister actually announced, where there will be an embedded software that if the fishermen cross the international maritime boundary on either the western side in Pakistan or on the eastern side or in Sri Lanka, there will be an alarm that will go off in that mobile phone that will be there, the GPS system, so that they are aware that they are crossing an international maritime boundary and should not transgress. That is being now experimented in coastal areas. And we hope that all the fishermen finally in the next 2 or 3 years will get that thing. So that will prevent.
We are cooperating very well, and once we get the information, we dispose of the cases as soon as possible.
Right. No, I think India-Bangladesh cooperation is a shining example. There is a problem between India and Sri Lanka on the southern coast, but that I'm sure will be sorted out. We will stop here as far as question and answers are concerned, because we are waiting eagerly to hear the Minister. I'm sure he would like to answer some of those questions about additional capacity of inland container yards in coordination with railways and etc. But I'll leave it to him. Mr. Gadkari, your turn to address the audience. Would you like to go there, sir? Yes.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gadkari for you.
All dignitaries on the dais, especially from 22 countries, the experts, the ambassadors who are here. First, from Indian government, I welcome you all in this conference. This is a very important subject for India because it has got huge potential for our development. The growth in this industry is creating more employment potential and growth rate for the country. The Indian Ocean covers at least 1/5 of the world's total ocean area. It's really a huge potential. An area of 68,556 million square kilometers and a coastline of 66,526 kilometers. It provides critical sea trade routes that connect the Middle East, Africa and South Asia with Asia in the east and Europe in the west. The Indian Ocean marks several points of global economic importance, such as Strait of Hormuz and Malacca, through which 32.2 million of barrels of crude oil and petroleum are transported every day. More than 50% of world's maritime oil trade. The Indian Ocean region is itself believed to be rich with energy resources, and nearly 50% of the world's offshore petroleum is produced in the Indian Ocean. Coastal beach sands and offshore waters host heavy mineral deposits, and fisheries are increasingly important for both food security and exports. About 80% of the oil and trade that emanates in the Indian Ocean is of extra-regional in nature. The ocean and sea surrounding our country present a security challenge and at the same time also present development opportunities. Security challenge is also very important because in the world we are all facing the problem of terrorism, terrorist organizations, and that's one of the important thing is that the security is very important for all the country. Now it became a $1 million question for all the world. As a Minister for Shipping, my role is to ensure that the development opportunities are fully harnessed. As far as our government is concerned, the new government, the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, we are giving highest priority for development in this field. The oceans, seas and waterways offer immense potential to provide means of development to the people living in the region. We have already we have taken decision in the parliament, we already passed the bill, by which we have already converted 111 rivers into waterways. And this 20,000 kilometers of river length and canal length can be used for water transport. So this is also a big strength with us. We have already started to work in Ganga, Brahmaputra, and now just 1 month before we have started working the Genome Canal in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. In Ganga, we are making 3 multimodal hubs. One at Varanasi, Haldia and Sahibganj. We have already started, the work is going on. And the most important thing, we are making 40 river ports. And 1,680 kilometers of this we are making 3-meter draft. And already we have a system like air traffic control, we have a river traffic control system from Haldia to Patna, which is already in order. We have already started the repair of Farakka water gate. And this will be a game changer. Here the dignitary is present from Bangladesh. From Varanasi or from Sahibganj, it's a multimodal hub. The national highway, the waterways and the railway at the same place. From Sahibganj, we can take any material up to Myanmar, and we can take it to Bangladesh. We have a lot of plans. We have already signed the agreement with the Bangladesh government and making dredging in Brahmaputra and development of some ports area where we can take all material from Sahibganj to the ports in Bangladesh, and which can be easily distributed to the northeast, where we can save the logistic cost. So that can be a huge opportunity for business. At the same time, we have started work in Brahmaputra. We are making 60 river ports. In Ganga, we have 9 Ro-Ro services and 8 ferry services. In Brahmaputra, we have 7 Ro-Ro services and 9 ferry services, which is very much useful for the public transport. At the same time, we have started working in Barak. So through from Sahibganj, we can connect up to even Manipur. By Barak river also we can go to that area. So this can be a game changer. So regarding this availability of 20,000 kilometers of river length and the canal length, and now with this 12 major port and with approximately 70,000 kilometers of seafront, it is a huge potential for our country. And that is the reason that the ocean economy is very important for the development of our country. The ocean economy, where the blue economy is most important. As far as Indian law is concerned, up to 12 kilometers, it is the right of the state to give the permission for the fishing. After 12 nautical miles, it is the right of the central government. But presently, our fishermen are not in position to go more than 12 kilometers, 12 nautical miles. So now there is a problem that we are now making the policies. Yes, 10 days before I discussed this issue with the Prime Minister, and now he is ready to call a meeting for that. And our idea is the subject is related with many ministries, Fishing Ministry, Agriculture Ministry, then Sagar Mala is because it's me. So our plan is to give trawler, development of good technology for the trawler, and only we can give it to only to the fishermen, not for the trader or industry or the businessman. We give them, the idea is we give them 50 to 20 lakhs rupees as a subsidy. They will get loan in Mudra Yojana, 1 crore of loan, and only 10 to 15 lakhs investment from the fishermen. They can make it. They can start it in cooperative partnership firm, 5 to 6 fishermen, adding their equity and their capital of 10 lakhs to 15 lakhs from them, and we will finance them. India has got a huge potential, and these sophisticated trawlers, which we have to develop in a way that we have to save the environment. But at the same time, by going into deep sea, our fish production will be increased by 3 to 4 times. There will be fish packaging and processing industry will be there. We have 200 minor and private ports and 12 major ports. And now we are planning for making of 6 major ports. So I feel that the huge potential is available for this blue economy also. The most coastal and island countries are keen to integrate the idea of ocean economy in their development policies. Here are a lot of people from Norway and from the different part of the world. Now we are interacting with some Korean companies, some Russian companies, and it is India has got a huge potential. Unfortunately, from last 60 years, unfortunately our government, the previous government, I don't know what the reason was, but there was no priority for development of this field. I feel that this is a potential field, and our government want to use it for public transport. Catamaran, hovercraft, seaplane, cruise tourism, huge potential available. Last year in Mumbai we received 80 cruise, and within 5 years in Mumbai we are expecting 950 cruise. There is a huge potential available in cruise tourism, internally and externally. Now the idea is taking tourists from Mumbai to Andaman Nicobar, to Maldives. Huge potential is available. The Goa is a destiny where every day 89 flights coming to Goa. Now we are planning for new international airport. So by using this cruise in India and out of India, there is a huge potential available for the tourism. Even we can start transport from Mumbai to Goa, Mumbai to Kochi, Mumbai to Chennai, Mumbai to Sri Lanka, Mumbai to Bangladesh. And there are a lot of opportunities that now we are making 6 to 7 cruise terminals. In Mumbai, we have already started the making of a cruise terminal by spending cost of 700 crores. So I feel that this is a field where the huge potential is available. And yesterday there was a meeting in my office in Delhi with the Planning Commission member Dr. Saraswati. And all players who are manufacturing the engines, particularly in this field, from Varsila, MAN, the Cummins, and all were present there. And Mr. Kotak, now you should give the priority for that. That we should use methanol as a fuel. The methanol is available with 20 to 22 rupees per litre. And it's a comparatively clean fuel, import substitute, cost effective and pollution free. In the Sweden, a lot of company was with me yesterday. They have a technology that they can supply the kit by which we can change our diesel engine into methanol. And we are getting methanol from coal. And now we are coal surplus. Even in India today, the fertilizer companies are manufacturing methanol. In Mumbai, the Deepak fertilizer, the RCA, the Gujarat fertilizer, they have all got the capacity to making of methanol. And from methanol, we can make DME. And we can add DME, the cost is very less in LPG, by which we can reduce the 20% cost of gasoline. So here the coal is available now. The Volvo has got already their truck and bus motor engine is on 100% methanol. So I am trying to make an experiment in Mumbai to start the Volvo buses for using methanol. So my suggestion is, because this is a cost-effective solution, 22 rupees per litre. So it's a huge change. And in Sweden, one of the cruise company name starts from something I don't know. Stena. They are using their cruise ships on 100% methanol. When I was in Gautamburg, the mayor was hosting a dinner for me. I was seeing that ship, and the expert people was telling me that cruise is on 100% methanol. So my suggestion is that this can be good fit for all of us to go for that. The ocean-led development needs to be sustainable and economically and socially effective. Innovation, entrepreneurship, technology and research is knowledge. And conversion of knowledge into wealth is the future for the country. And this is the field where these all people from 22 countries having a lot of new innovation, new technology, cost-effective technology, and pollution point of view, that was very important. So we have to go on that way. It will not be appropriate for me, but we are on a very seat which is on a last row we are seeing. Our private people and our government neglect this. And this is a very important field for our economy, for growth and creating more employment potential. The innovation, investment and infrastructure and a cooperative approach can help in equitable spread of the benefits. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji is a strong proponent of linking oceans, seas and waterways for bringing prosperity to the people. Development is central to all our policy making. The oceans and seas can provide the means of achieving our goal and development. The global manufacturing has undergone a major change and trade linkages have also increased. The logistic cost plays an important role in determining the competitiveness. The logistic cost in India is 18% and China it is 8%. And European countries it is 12%. If suppose I am the road minister, it is not appropriate for me to say it, but we want to discourage the road traffic. Because the way in which our growth is there, the 22% growth rate, every 3 years we need to add one lane that costs 80,000 crores to the country and create huge pollution. So we need public transport on electricity, we need water transport, and our highest priority is to give more priority for water transport and public transport on electricity. Because of the pollution we are facing the problem. We are making the roads. When I taken charge, it was 96,000 kilometer national highway. In the country, we have 52 lakh kilometer of road length, out of which only 2% as a national highway, and 40% of the traffic of the country was on the 2% of the road. So now we have decided to make it 2 lakh kilometer, then 80% of the traffic of the country will be on national highway. We are making 12 express highways. We are making it, the traffic is more than 10,000 PCUs, we will make 4-lane roads. If it is more than 20,000 PCUs, we will make 6-lane road. We are making 12 express highways. Even in this Mumbai to Goa road, we are spending 18,000 crores. We are making 4-lane cement concrete road. Now we have started express highway that is Easterly bypass of Delhi. It's a big which is going to reduce the 50% pollution and traffic jam of Delhi. We are making Delhi Meerut express highway. But the way in which our automobile industry is increased, it's really a great problem for the country. It's good for giving employment. They have export of 1,44,000 crores. But at the same time, because of pollution, because of import of oil, it is also a great liability for the country. So water transport can be a good alternative, good option for that. The global manufacturing has undergone a major change. The trade linkage has also increased. Logistic cost plays an important role in determining competitiveness. And globally, manufacturing value addition is the highest around the ports. Now our ports their efficiency is increased, the capacity is increased, and the profit is increased. Our 12 major port and our 3 flagship organizations, Shipping Corporation of India, Dredging Corporation of India, and Cochin Shipyard. Yesterday they received the order of 6,000 crore from defense. And when I was in capital market for raising funds for them, it was 1,650 crores. At that day, I was in stock exchange in Mumbai. The index was reduced by 300 points. But at 10 o'clock when I rang that bell, within half hour, in place of 1,650 crores, we received 1,26,000 crore, 76 times over. So money is not the problem. The problem is we need the competitive people in the government and the private sector that who can take the advantage of the situation. I always say that there are some people who convert problems into opportunities, and there are some people who convert opportunities into the problems. So I feel that there are some problems, but the capability of the sector and capability of the people and the politician and the bureaucracy and all of us, when we work together, it will be great advantage for the country. Globally, manufacturing value addition is highest around ports. The strength of our country is the vast coastline and opportunity for economic development can be created using the seas, oceans and waterways. Approximately 18% of India's population lives in the 72 coastal districts. 72% coastal, 18% of population. Manufacturing clusters in the hinterland are also dependent on ports and waterways for moving their raw material and finished goods. Recognizing the need to create more opportunity for our people to improve their living standards, we have initiated an ambitious program of port-led development named as SAGAR Discourse. I feel that it will be appropriate that somewhere, if you can allow somebody from our department to present what is SAGAR Discourse. In SAGAR Discourse, it's a huge, a very, very big project. The first time in India, holistic development of maritime sector has been planned under SAGAR Discourse program. Reduction in logistic cost and ease of doing business are the primary focus to give a boost to our domestic and export trade. This program is aimed to promote port-led development through harnessing the 7,500 km of long coastline and 111 waterways and its strategic location on international maritime trade route. A national prospective plan (NPP) has been developed as a part of this program. More than 400 projects identified in the area of port modernization, mechanization, and development of ports. The port road connectivity, port rail connectivity, and today it's a great pleasure for me. Out of 4 lakh crores, the projects cost more than 1,60,000 crore already we are starting. Now we have Port Rail Connectivity Corporation. We don't need to go for railway. We are making railway from Indore to Monwar of 6,000 crore. We don't need money. We are taking loan on dollars with 2% interest. The IRR is good. I can raise 50,000 crores dollar loan with 2% interest cost, which is going to change the IRR of the projects. So the Railway Corporation office in Mumbai. And now I am expecting the work of railway from them is of 1 lakh crores. Then port road connectivity, we are making a lot of roads in it. And the port-led industrial development and coastal community development is also the part of this program. These projects are expected to mobilize more than $15 to 60 billion of infrastructure investment and more than 110 billion of industrial investment. Implementation of projects under SAGAR Discourse will enable creation of 10 million new jobs, including 4 million direct jobs in next decade. We are making special economic zone in Mumbai, in JNPT. We have received a lot of demand from the investors. And only the one special economic zone where we are creating employment potential for 1,25,000 youth. So this is the potential. Already there are a lot of economic zone, economic development zone, coastal zone. In addition to this, 300,000 construction jobs will also be created during the development of infrastructure project. We aim to increase the Indian port capacity from 1,500 MMTPA in 2015 to more than 3,000 MMTPA in 2025. This will include 100 MMTPA by efficiency improvement is already going on. Our consultants are very working. That's the reason that without increasing the capacity, without making big investment, we are getting good profits. Now everywhere we have decided to make comparison between the international port and our port. So we can understand what we need for that. So today capacity augmentation of existing ports is going on, and now development of 6 new ports including a transshipment hub in Kerala, that is we are planning for that. Under port connectivity, more than 80 connectivity projects have been identified. This includes last mile road and rail connectivity infrastructure to the ports, freight friendly expressways, heavy rail projects, new pipelines for transporting crude and petroleum products, development of prioritized inland waterways and new multimodal logistic hubs. Now LNG is the future. So we are making a lot of things for transport of LNG because the transport is very important and by which we can reduce the cost, fuel cost. The logistic cost reduction opportunity of $5 to 6 billion has been identified and includes increasing the share of coastal shipping and inland waterways in the model mix. For promoting port-led industrialization, 14 coastal economic zones, CEZs, including 27 port-based coastal industrial clusters have been proposed. 14 of these industrial clusters of energy, cement, steel sector and 13 are in discrete manufacturing sector. These clusters are expected to boost India's mechanized exports by merchandise export by $110 billion in the next decade. As a part of Sagar Mala's objective of coastal community development, stealing, fishermen and other community development projects have also been identified. We have also set up a company, India Port Global Limited, to undertake port development activities outside the country. We are developing Chabar Port, Mr. Gupta is here. And now that Chabar Port is also a game changer. The distance between Mumbai to Delhi, the distance between Kandla to Chabar is less than Mumbai to Delhi. And from Chabar you can go direct up to Russia, to Afghanistan. You don't need to go to Pakistan. So it will be new gateway open. And gas is available in Iran. Huge opportunities, business opportunities are there and Kandla is very near. So this is a important thing for now. We are concentrating on the development of ports abroad. Then for promoting port as a part of Sagar Mala's objective of coastal community development, stealing, fishermen and other community development projects have also been identified. The company, which is a global company, a global limited, this company is undertaking port operation at the Chabar port in Iran and looking at other opportunities in the neighborhood. We have discussions with Bangladesh also, Sri Lanka also, and we have agreement signed with Bangladesh, and we are spending 250 crores for raising in Bangladesh for creating the transport area to be. For that we have to go connectivity up to Myanmar and we can go to Southeast Asia. Even we have road connectivity for that. You are absolutely correct. You are telling only 1,80,000 cost for transport for one truck. But you are not talking about the corruption and delays and rate taxation because of that. Everywhere the check posts are there in both the countries. How they giving a lot of trouble to the people for their small business. This is also another story for them. So by going this route, waterways, it will be game changer. So we have also become planning for making development of our activities in abroad. We have signed agreements with Bangladesh to enable coastal shipping and also use the rivers and waterways to encourage the bilateral trade of reducing logistic costs. Already respectable Bangladesh authority has already clear about it. While the importance of shipping and ports for global trade is well recognized, there is a huge potential to use of the oceans and seas for tourism purposes. Already I have given details about it. I feel that this is also important field. From last 3 years I am trying for seaplane, caterpillar, the hovercraft. I don't know, but we don't have succeeded. 15 days before I have a discussion with a Russian company. Then at 25 I also have a discussion with some Korean companies. Saying you come to India now, Cochin Shipyard is developing their dry dock in Andaman Nicobar. I say then you go for Gujarat, you go for the east part of the country, or they are starting manufacturing in Calcutta. That Hogli company, who I don't remember, but that the company is taking by Cochin Shipyard and making 500 barge there for Ganga. And say you make it on methanol. So I feel that these are the opportunities which are available, and I feel that in Indian scenario, the huge potential is available as per the trade business are concerned. And people from abroad, you are welcome for a good technology, the successful practices, cost-effective technologies, new innovations, and we are open for that. At the same time, I am confident that in cruise tourism, there is a huge potential. Now, as a transport minister, we are planning for introduction of scrapping of vehicles. Their life is more than 15 years. So we will make an automobile zone, and this all automobile bhangar we can use again recycling for it. It can reduce the cost of spare parts for new cars, and India will become a hub for automobile manufacturing. Today we have a turnover of 4,50,000 crores. But by making this scrapping policy, which is already not in our project, but by which we will develop the automobile cluster in different parts of the ports, and which is going to create a new automobile hub. Because the manufacturing of automobile in India will be the cheapest. So there is a huge potential is available. I feel that it is a great opportunity for both for Indian people and the people from abroad. Sagar Mala is our flagship program. You are welcome in all this, all type of new projects, new innovations, new technology. We are very transparent, no corruption, zero tolerance against corruption, fast track decision making process, and I know that there is a red tapeism in the government. But I know how to get the red from it to solve the problem. So we are on the fast track. And I appeal all of you to invest in India, to take the advantage of these opportunities, and to support us, and give us your valuable good suggestions, good technologies, and investment. Once again, I am giving a lot of my thanks to particularly all the organization please organize this. And again, you are welcome in all type of ventures in India. Again, I am giving my best wishes to all of you, and this is a great opportunity for all of you to invest in India. From my side, my government side, from my department, I am always transparent and open for good suggestion. Anything you hear, don't hesitate, come directly to me. Either convince me or convince by me. I will take the decisions and we will go ahead. Thank you very much.